Hi friends, it's Becky and I am going to be sharing a tutorial today where I make a beaded chain necklace using some beads and findings that came in the Wild Mushroom Softflex design kit. That is not a bead subscription, but it is one of their monthly design kits that they put together, curated to a theme, where you can get some really fun beads in them. So the beads that I'm using for this are these faceted light pink barrel beads. I grabbed a couple of these faceted star coin beads in that dark brown color, and I'm using 4 of the barrel beads, both of these faceted coin beads. I'm using some of these English cut check glass beads. I've got some of these dark brown metallic bicones and some of these sparkly stardust beads in that pink color. So I'm going to be putting those together. I've already made most of my links, but I'm going to demonstrate using this bead how I made those links. And then we're going to be joining them together using some 5mm jump rings. I also have this owl pendant, this swingy articulated guy who came in that box. And this did not come in the box. It's just a little connector here, and I'm going to use it to connect my pendant to my my bead strands when we get to that part. And then because I have this owl here, my sister came to visit me and she brought me these adorable little owl charms. This was not part of the Softflex design kit. This is something that came from my sister's stash. And so I'm going to be using those for some earrings. And then the beads for the earrings did come from the Softflex design kit, and I'm using those there. I've got some ear wires for that as well. For the tools, I'm mostly going to be using some chain nose pliers, round nose pliers, and some flush cutters. And the wire that I've used to make these links is some 20 gauge silver plated pewter Softflex craft wire. It is a really great color to go with either stainless steel or pewter color things, or even sometimes like antique silver, since it's not bright silver, or platinum colored things with that. So first thing that I do when I go to make these links, and these links are ones with wrapped loops, the first thing is to straighten out my wire, and I'm going to work off the spool for this. I like to just go along the wire and do just a little bit of a bend one direction and a tiny bend the other direction. It works out the kinks and it straightens it out. It also warms it up so that it's a little bit easier to use. So then I'll put the bead on there, and that's just so that when I go to measure it, I'm able to get the correct or a good amount of the wire off for the rest of it, but it's going to drop out of the way for the meantime. And then about 2.5 to 3 inches from the end, I'm going to hold on to the wire about 1/3 of the way down the barrel from the pointy end. And I'm not squeezing very hard, but I am just going to do a little twist of my wrist to bend that wire. And then push this wire up over the top and rotate it. There we go. And that way I've got myself a little loop here. And then I'm going to hold on to my loop with my pliers, and either using a second set of pliers or your fingers, just wrap around that. And I have run out of leverage on that, so I am going to grab a second set of pliers real quick just to get that to finish wrapping a little bit more. I am doing, for the month of September, a little challenge to myself to make at least 2 beaded chain necklaces each week. And this is my first one. Well, actually, no, this is my second one for this month. So I'm going to measure down about 3 fingers width. You can crowd them together, that's fine. And then cut the wire, not your fingers. this wire. I'm going to straighten out that loop just a little bit. There we go. That's straighter. I can hold on to my wire right here next to the bead and push the top of this over on there. And then about the same place on my barrel that I made the other loop, I'm going to hold onto this wire and push the wire up and over. Swing my pliers over, and I've got a second loop. Now I'm going to close that up by wrapping it around the neck of this bead. And it is a little bit harder when you've got a wide bead here to kind of maneuver the wire around. So sometimes my second wrap isn't as nice as the first one. But that's okay, because it's still made a wrapped loop. I'm going to snip off my excess wire here. Alright. Now, let's start connecting these guys together using these jump rings. I'm going to be opening and closing the jump rings using my 2 pliers. Just slide it open like that. And then you can connect the thing that you are connecting it to by putting both of those things on your jump ring. Then holding one end steady while you twist it closed so that both of those ends meet. So that is all I'm doing for the focal. Let's create our links on these, and I believe what I wanted to do on this is start like that, and then we'll have these together, and then around the back of the neck, these guys all in a row. Let me move these guys out of the way. In this order. Yep, that is what we were doing. I'm going to end with one of these smaller beads. So I just need to do some opening and closing of my jump rings. You can do this with me if you'd like. Just get these all connected together. And I'll get one side of the necklace built out, and then I'll do the second one, and then we will connect both ends together, and then attach a clasp. For a clasp, I'm going to be using just a lobster clasp, and then we'll have a jump ring on the other side for it to connect to. I wanted to make a fairly simple, fairly easy design with this, where mostly it's just going to be the beads doing most of the work. And these don't have a front side or a back side, so I don't have to be super careful about which orientation they are when we're going. It's just a single bead on a wrap loop link, and these will sort of highlight them. I really like this type of design when you've got not a lot of beads, but definitely beads that you want to have all together. And each different link gives each of those beads its own moment, its own time to shine or sparkle, as you do. Thinking about it, and I think actually I'd like to replace this first one with one of my sparkly guys, so it's right next to the owl. Because you can always change your mind. So right now it's just, you know, arranging it, getting them in the order that I'd like them to be. Alright, looks like I made too many links because this is going to be long enough for the length that I like necklaces to be. I don't like them too long. I like them on the shorter side. And that is what this is going to give me. So I've got this necklace all put together. Let me make sure that that's part of my necklace all put together. Let me make sure that we are going to be doing it in the same order for this next one. There we go. I can use those for bracelet probably. In fact, I bet these would be great in a bracelet design with one of these guys in the center maybe. Yeah, I think I'm making a whole set, guys. Since I've already made these links, it's not going to be that much extra for me to go ahead and do a bracelet. So I'm going to put these aside for now, though, because I'm still working on the necklace. Let's do the necklace first, then we will add a bracelet, and then we'll do our little earrings with our super cute owl charms that my sister brought me that will go with this. So this really shouldn't take too long because we're just putting these together. There it is. Alright, and now we're going to connect that to my owl. By connecting the end of this one to one of these connection points. And then this one. Gets connected to this. Got 1, 2, 3, so third one. So we've just got that one loop sitting there at the top. Right there in the middle of this necklace. Let's get our clasp attached. Putting a jump ring just on this end, just to give something besides the link for the lobster clasp to attach to, although it could just attach just as well to the loop on that. Let's go ahead and attach the lobster clasp to the other side. There we go. And that is done. Now it took a lot less time for me to do this on camera than it takes in real life because it takes a while to make each individual link. But I like to, you know, sit with a show or an audiobook and my spool of wire and make those links. I find it really an enjoyable application of my time. That is the perfect length. So I love that. For these little guys, let's make a bracelet real quick. I was going to include these on my necklace, but one of the holes is not big enough or wide enough for the 20 gauge wire to go through, and I wasn't able to clear. Well, I should say it's big enough, but there's some blockage in there. It's not completely blocked. It's just partially blocked. So I'm going to have to work on that, or it'll probably work really well if I do a stringing thing with that one. But I'm not stringing today. I am making beaded chain things. So let's get this made for a bracelet. And I believe what I'm going to do with this is do a little link here with this guy and my 20 gauge wire. And it's going to be the same kind of link that I made before, wrapped loops. And I'm going to wrap them and then use my my jump rings to connect them. I'll grab another lobster clasp for this. Maybe make a little dangle with one of my extra beads. So 3 fingers down. I've got a little link just like that. Now, I don't always do like a full set, or not even a full set, but a complete set when I'm doing my beaded chain challenge. A lot of time it would just be a make the necklace, but I had these extra links that I'd made, and I had one of these beads that I could use for this that I wasn't able to use for the necklace. And I think it's going to come together pretty nicely. And I mean, I could do a full set. I have a little owl button that I could make into a ring. What do you guys think? Maybe it'll be a hoot. You know, I had to. It was important. It was a very important thing for me to do. All right. I'm going to need to check my bracelet length in just a little bit. See how I'm doing there. See if I need to add any extra beads. Or maybe grab a chain or something to use as an extender. That is also an option. Oh, why did I do that? Y'all, I just linked a second jump ring instead of this next link. That's not how you do it, by the way. Don't do what I did. It's because I was thinking about other things and not what I was currently doing. That happens to me quite a bit, if I am very honest. There we go. I felt like I was on autopilot, but I wasn't. Let that be a lesson to never use to always pay attention, even when you've got cruise control on, or even when you've got autopilot engaged. Right? Alright. And that is almost long enough. I do have some Rolo chain, which actually makes decent extender chain. I got about 1.5 inches of that out. That should be enough space there. And I believe these links are they soldered? Yep, they are soldered. So they will not swing open. I don't think. Nope. So I'm going to need to cut them. And this is just some 4mm Rolo chain that I had in my stash. We're going to use that as an extender on one end. And I am just grabbing a head pin for a dangle. There you go, that's a nice little ball head pin. I like when I do dangles to use ball head pins rather than flat head pins, because the flat head pins sometimes have a tendency to catch on something that I'm wearing. I'm a knitter, so sometimes my stuff that I wear has loops on there that can catch. So this is smoother for that. Let's make our dangle on here. I've got my last little English cut bead, and I'm just going to do a loop here with my round nose pliers. I've got it at an angle here. I'm just going to tip this back, bring this around, and just keep going all the way around here. And you know what, I need pliers for this because this is this metal isn't as malleable as the craft wire that I've been using for the rest of this. I need the extra torque and leverage from the second set of pliers in order to get this loop wrapped. Okay. That will do. Snip off my excess. Alright, so now that I've got my dangle, I am going to attach that to my chain. I should have actually wrapped it directly onto the chain. That would have worked better, but I didn't think about that until just now. Like I said, I wasn't planning on making a bracelet. That's okay though, because if I ever change out the chain or use something different besides that chain, these are stuck together. Those two are stuck together. Alright, fortunately I only need a couple more. I also have more in their little container. Alright, so I'm going to put this chain on here, put this chain on here, and join those chains together. Get those ends matching up. And let me add this guy on here. And that will be an entire bracelet. Made mostly on the fly. I did make those links ahead of time, but they were extras. They were more links than I needed for my necklace. I got a little carried away with my links, which can happen sometimes. I love it. And here's this owl here. I haven't decided on a name for my owl yet. want to call this one Dolores. Alright, now for the earrings, because that's where we are. I'm going to make some wrapped loop links again, but with these ones it won't be individual beads on there. I'm just going to make a link with both of these right next to each other, and then they're going to be connected to my little owl guy. So the first loop I'm going to make wrapped. This is going to be the part that connects to my ear wire. And then the second loop, I'm going to connect to my charm. So we're going to bend that over, make our little loop, and then attach the charm to the loop. Slide that down there. Whew. You might have to open that up a little bit. Swing it open, and swing it closed. I'm going to do some more wrapping. Little owl guys. My hair's super cute. I think I'm gonna do the ring. Alright, let's do the earring real quick, and then we'll do a wire wrapped ring, because look. How can I just not include this little guy in our little owl family? And I don't know where I got this button from. It might have been in a like a closeout with a bunch of other buttons. Might have gotten it from Bead Club.com. That's the retail site for Bead Box. I might have gotten it from there. I might have gotten it, again, like in a closeout with a bunch of other buttons. I cannot remember where I got it from. If you have a similar button and you know where you got it from, let me know, because it's super cute, and I would love to be able to share that with folks if we can get that figured out. I forgot to put my beads on first, so we're gonna do that now, because I'm just making my earring to go with my other set, and I guess I am doing the full set after all. Sometimes you get carried away, and that has happened to me. This isn't the first time, nor will it be the last. I absolutely will get carried away, and I'm not paying too much attention to which way I get these guys onto my earring right now, because they are the same on both sides, so I don't have to be like, oh, turn it this way or orient it that way. I just have to worry about getting them on the loop and getting the loop wrapped, and then attaching my ear wire. For instance, this could be the front or the back, and since I'm snipping that there, I'm going to call it the back now. Alright, my friends. Oof. Now, I sometimes will do rings with y'all when I do something in the beginning of the year. Usually I call it full set February, where I do several rings or full sets, and so I'll do some rings with that. So it's been a little while since I've done a ring. So let's pull out my ring mandrel. And I've got a couple of different ring mandrels. This is my favorite one. I have a little mark, a couple of marks here from where is a good size for me. So it's a good thing to have, so you've got the measurements, so you know where you can wrap things around. If you don't have a ring mandrel, you can find things like a makeup tube or something else like that that rings will fit on, that might be about the right width to match a finger thing. Just if you're using something that's made out of plastic or glass, if you go to do any hammering on it, which I probably will, I've also got this little hammer, then you want to not hammer it on that so that it doesn't break it. Just a little word of warning if you're not using like an actual mandrel that's made to take hammering. So let's get off some of this wire. I'm going to pull off, let's see, why don't we do about, let's see, that's about 8 inches. Yeah, 8 inches should be fine. And I'm going to, this is a pretty wide hole, so I think I'm going to go through this twice, maybe. There you go. I'm gonna bring this around. Yep. Very carefully bending so I don't get any kinks. I'm gonna go through this hole twice with my L and pull this through. So then I've got about an even amount. I can scooch this guy over here. There we go. Now, I'm going to follow this around. So I've got basically 3 strands of wire on that side. This guy over here. And I'm going to try and get this owl stabilized by wrapping, I'm pinching both sides of the wire, by the way, to keep it at the right size, moving that first one out of the way, and grabbing this. We're just going to go around Mr. Owl. And tuck that in. Okay. Now, it's going to be wobbly. That's okay. I'm going to go around this way with this one along the bottom. This is a fairly messy wrapping job, but I think it will work. There we go. Alright, now this is the part where I am going to stop hammer time. It may get a little loud, but I'm just going to try and get the form and shape solidified. Let's pull that off the mandrel. And I've got my owl guy. It's just a little simple ring. We don't need any extra beads or anything on it, but there we go. And he fits in with the set. Alright, I'm going to put a link to Softflex, which is also where I got this wire, and their kits. This is the Wild Mushroom kit. If you didn't watch the unboxing, I'll also link to that as well, so you can see what else came in it. There's a lot of fall colors in there, so we've got browns and golds and things like that, some ambery colors, but I wanted to head more towards pink for this design, so we'll do some more absolutely autumnal designs with it a little bit later. But there we go. It's not just a beaded chain necklace, it's also a beaded chain bracelet, and then a whole owl family for that little set. And again, this owl and those owls did not come in this box, but this one definitely did. Until next time, my friends, happy beading.